I'm the Italian Trade Commissioner of the Italian Trade Agency Los Angeles office. Not used to have all this light in front of my eyes, sorry. And I'm so happy today to give my welcome and introduce this panel dedicated to women, women empowerment, and how we get far from our objective that we will discover later on. So, why Italian Trade Agency's Los Angeles office has sponsored and co-organized this panel in collaboration with Tiziana Rocca, which is the executive director of this wonderful festival here in LA that starts today for the next 3 days. Because Italian Trade Agency, which is the public agency that supports the internationalization of Made in Italy abroad in different sectors, and so promote many promotional activities, believe that, and me in particular, because as Trade Commissioner and as a woman, that the role of women in the industry is relevant and as a value. So today, I would say that we are not only organizing a panel of women talking about women, but we are emphasizing the role that women have in the industry, not only when they are executive or actress, as we are today, but also for the role that they play in the whole supply chain. It's a relevant role because the woman in a staff, and I can say this because my office, most of my staff are women, really contribute to give more productivity, more performance, and also in creating a very warm and enthusiastic way of working together. In our activities at ITA, we promote many sectors Made in Italy abroad in different sectors, and the way that we choose to promote is also to invent promotional activities in which the role of women and women entrepreneurs is relevant. For example, today we will talk about the entertainment industry, but also in innovation, we have created for the first time a special acceleration program for female founders, innovators, female founders in Silicon Valley. So startuppers, women startuppers, that with this special program can really scale up the US market. In the entertainment, I suppose that this way to approach the activities is more easy because entertainment has a role in the sense that can really change the social behavior of people. So really you can give an impact now to a changement in the women empowerment. So that's why, Tiziana, we are very happy also this year to give this sponsorship to this panel. And I think that the real changement, of course, the panel is a way to create awareness about this topic, but the real changement comes when we make together projects. And so I think that later on, with also the presence of Chiara and all our relevant speakers, we will enter also into detail of experience where women can play an active role. So I'm very happy now to give you the floor and just leave saying that if you want to be more informed about our activities, promotional activities in the industry of entertainment, please follow our new website that is entitled Italy Meets Hollywood, and so where there is a concrete bridge between the Italian industry in entertainment and the American one. And so we will wait you in other events that we are going to open in the next months. Thank you, and now Tiziana, I give you the floor.
Thank you Alessandra Grandi. I'm very happy to open this 8th edition of Film in Italy Los Angeles with this important panel. For me, it is really important to support the women empowerment. And also I would love to say that, you know, we record the panel and we will put also on the platform, because we have a platform that you can see all over America, and like that we can share our panel today with other women in Boston, in Chicago, San Francisco, New York, wherever they are. And I'm glad to moderate this panel that I am strongly encouraged, because all my activity is for many years is dedicated to women. And 1 year ago, we organized this panel in Los Angeles, and now we are back. I'm very glad of that. And here we are with a new group of guest speakers. I would love to welcome Sandra Stern, Chairman of Lionsgate Television. Thank you to be here. Lucia Gervino, Head of Production at AE Networks. Welcome. Chiara Tilesi, Social Impact Producer and Director and Founder of We Do It Together. Welcome again. Matilda De Angelis, really one of our Italian great actress. Thank you to be here. And also Greta Scarano, really one of the Italian also great talented. And I'm very happy that they are guests this year at the festival, and also they participated in the panel. I just want to say very quickly some data that women represent 50% of the population. Nevertheless, women have generally been treated as a minority in movies and audiovisual content. The percentage of women working as director, writer, producer, executive producer, editor, and cinematographer increased just 7%. From the 17% in 1998 to 24% in 2022. By role, women comprised 18% of director only, 19% of writer, 25% of executive producer, 31% of producers, 21% of editors, and 7% of cinematographer last year. This is a study from the Center of Women Television and Film at San Diego State University. For that reason, my first question is for Sandra and Lucia that work off screen. What has changed from the time you started off in the executive room, for instance?
Well, a lot has changed. First of all, we now see more women in the executive suites. When I first started, when you saw a woman, she was generally delivering coffee. Right?
Yes, you told this.
You don't, right. So today, I'm a vice chairman of Lionsgate, and I see my friend Jen Psaki over at Amazon, and my friend Dana Walden over at Disney. There are women starting to be recognized. There is an opportunity for women. So in the executive suites, we are seeing our presence felt, and more women making decisions means more women's stories that they may be greenlighting, more women writers that they may be approving, and directors they may be working with. So more opportunities are being presented and being opened up for women in the workplace. We own a network called Stars, and Stars has been, one of their great focuses has been to address stories, to address an audience that hasn't been addressed that much in the media, and that is women. So I think a good significant percentage, in some shows as many as 50 or 60% of the writers are women, the directors are women, the producers are women. We did a series, I was telling somebody earlier, we did a series called Orange is the New Black at Lionsgate, and we would sit there and think, well, do we really, we probably should hire a man to do something. But when you have women making decisions, they are looking at creating opportunities for the women, and I see that starting to happen. It's a process, not moving fast enough, but starting to happen.
I really hope, Lucia.
I think one of the other things that has really started to take hold is that women are demanding a place in those offices. They are demanding those roles. They are acknowledging and speaking up. Before, when you would see a woman, I'm talking 25 years ago or so, in an office, she would be the only woman. And there was this fear, this sense of you were lucky to be there. Now, women are demanding that other women be there. They don't want to be, it's not acceptable to be the only woman in the room anymore. So they are laying a pathway for other women to be hired and to succeed, and mentoring them more, and supporting them more, and being more vocal about it.
This is very important. I want to ask also to Chiara. You founded the We Do It Together to change deep-rooted perception and stereotype about women and your movie, Tell It Like a Woman, that this year also is nominated for an Oscar.
Yes, I believe that yes, there are some improvements, but there are also some step back. For example, in these years, according to the study at the USC Annenberg Initiative study, the women directors in movie went back to 9%. So 2020 they were around 12%, 2021 10%, and now we're back to 9%. So this is a sign that yes, and on one direction, we're moving forward. On the other direction, there, that journey that you do 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. So we have to be very much alert and keep going and changing the narrative. And I believe that this should be something done together, men and women, because it's not just the women benefiting from it, but also the men, because it's a better society. It cannot be that 50% of the population is not represented, or not all represented incorrectly, only in a very objectified way, because we're much more than that.
That's an excellent,
Yes.
that's an excellent point.
This is true. My question is now for Matilda and Greta. We all know that seeing oneself reflected in popular culture is very powerful. Cinema can showcase what is possible. The moving image acts like a mirror. Matilda, you are now on Netflix with a series where she played the first female lawyer in the history of Italy, Black in 1883, The Law According to Lydia Poet. Greta, you are starring in the TV series Circeo. You are a lawyer, a strong and brave woman who defends not only women but the idea that sexual assault is a crime. What has changed in portraying women on screen? What is your take as actress, Matilda and Greta? Who want to be the first?
Hi, thank you, Tiziana. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna try to answer this question by sharing my experience, which is that when I was 18 years old, I tried to apply in this very important drama school, not as an actress, but as a director. But we're talking about almost 20 years ago, because I'm 36. So when I stepped inside the room, the whole commission, they just assumed that I was there for acting things. So I kind of got pissed, because I was like, I studied for the whole summer to be prepared to do this, and you're acting like I'm here to be, try to be a director. But maybe I wasn't prepared enough, or maybe they didn't, push me to believe that I could do it. So I ended up being and working as an actress, but my first desire was to be a director. And now something is changing, and I'm talking about Italian industry, which is the only one that I really know, because I work in it, I live in Italy. And we are trying to make steps to change things, because maybe 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, they told you that you couldn't be a director. And now I really want to tell girls and women that they can. Actually, that they must, because we really need to be represented in our own way. And so that's why I wrote my first movie, and I'm going to direct it. And it has been a long time since I wanted to do this. And also in Circeo, in the series that I play this beautiful role, which is very hard to find in Italy. We struggle, and Matilda knows better, we struggle to find interesting, brilliant roles that really can inspire people and can make us deliver our talents for fulfilling our worth. And I'm really hoping that in Italy we'll go forward in this kind of, in our system, and trying really to have women to write roles and direct movies, and because I totally agree with what you're saying. We really need to be represented in our way.
Yeah, we were saying like just a minute before that I don't have a lot of actresses friends, because sometimes when you're in a movie you see that you are the only female role in the movie. So that's a good point, I think. And I think what has changed is the awareness of women. Like, we're bored to see women portrayed in movies like in a way that's not real or not completely real, because we're not only brides and mothers and girlfriends. I mean, we're also that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we're not only that. So I think, in my experience as an actress, which is the only experience I can bring to the stage today, I'm sorry, but in my experience is we have a responsibility as actresses when I read a script. If I feel that my character, that the female character is not strong enough or deep enough, or that needs a male role in order to exist, then I feel we should, point that thing and maybe say no to some projects if we don't believe that we are truly represented as women. So maybe in order to drive, the and push the attention. So yeah, I think that's it.
Do you have any experience to share with us? Maybe a project you have turned down, or that you have turned upside down completely, or how powerful are educational programs in such contests? Sandra.
Well, I go back to where I started, which was when you have women making decisions, they're making decisions to portray real women, not men's fantasy of what women should be. And those real women are in real life situations and can rise to it and can be strong within it. We have a show that we do called P-Valley, and it is about poor women who work in the sex trade. They're strippers and they're hookers in rural America. And reading that script for the first time, we were troubled. I was troubled about victimizing poor women who don't have an opportunity and don't have a chance. But the showrunner and the writer and director is a female playwright. And she had a very, very different notion of what this meant for these women. And the story, P-Valley, as she saw it, was about women taking control of their lives. Women without education and without opportunities and without family and without any way of making their way in the world. They were not going to be doctors. They were not going to be lawyers. But they could be in control and take control of their own lives and their own power. And we took what in the hands of a man might have been a victim story and turned it into a series that has been nominated and awarded all across the board, including from women's groups, for a powerful portrayal of women taking control of their lives. So that's one example, I think, of women telling the story about women in a way that's realistic, that shows that women can be in charge, at least in charge of themselves, which is a very, very powerful way for women to be portrayed.
Lucia?
I think one of the subtle changes that has happened over the last decade or so, and yet such a huge change, is the realization that a project that is written for men, for male leads, can easily have a woman replaced in that lead role. And that a woman character doesn't need to be written a specific way to act a certain way. That when you have difficult character, angry characters, complicated characters, characters that do things that shock you, that can also be wonderfully played by a woman. And that in fact, a woman in that role brings with it so many additional levels because it kicks against that societal thought of that a woman should only be and can only be nurturing, loving, and in all of these matriarchal roles. And it's such a subtle difference, but when you start to talk to writers, when we started to talk to writers and say, okay, what if this was a woman instead? There was a lot of pushback, and then there was this final acceptance of, wow, this would have so much more dimension, this flawed character, if we gave it to a woman instead. And that's been a tremendous success, I think.
Chiara?
Well, you asked for also a personal experience. I think that I would like to talk about our movie, Telling Like a Woman, because the title said it all, right? And is directed by 8 extraordinary directors, female directors. We shot all around the world. And there are 7 stories where we're telling the story of women in a very empowering way. No matter where they start, they might start in prison, but they end up empowering, and learning and evolving from that, because this is who we are. I mean, we're mother, we're businesswomen, we never give up. So enough, I agree, enough with the victimized, enough with the sexualized, because that's not really who we are. And we are 50% of the population, and we want to be represented. It's not a minority, we are a majority. Said that, no matter how big of directors you have, or actors that you have, it took us 6 years to make this movie. 6 years. And I remember every time I went to a studio, they would tell me, oh, we love this. This is wonderful. Thank you for doing this. Some of them even had shared some tears. And then, guess what? I get excited. I said, it's done. Let's do it. And then you keep calling and they don't answer. And that shows you when there is a problem, right?
Here is sometimes happen,
Right?
I know that,
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, we are conquering little by little, but we should never give up, because one thing is the result, one thing is the perception. Because the fact that we're talking about women issues doesn't mean that we solve the problem. Because we're talking about centuries of culture. I mean, we're talking that in 2022, a girl, because she wasn't wearing her hijab in the correct way, she was killed. Or in Afghanistan, education to women in university has been eliminated. Or in Brazil during COVID, every 10 minutes a woman got raped. Or in New York, 35%, the domestic violence raised up to 35%. So what are we talking about? Let's look at the general situation. And I think that as filmmakers, we have a great responsibility, changing the narrative, because we are what we repeatedly see. And so this shows the status of women in the world. What do we show women, and what is the status of women in the world? But the good news is that I agree there is a big awareness, and we just have to stick together, men and women. This is not a fight between each other. This is an evolution, and this is a change of narrative and the creation of a new paradigm.
Of course, we need also more women, in the political. We have an Italian, now in Italy we have a woman president of Italian Consulate, but I think also, if in around the world, like you say, in many countries that really have to make a lot of things, to human rights, to really is not represented a lot of women. They don't want women in the political representative. It's very tough for a woman really, to go also to the university and to study. For that reason, there is a lot of job to do. We are lucky in America, I think. We are lucky in Italy, Europe, but there is many countries we are not lucky. And we have maybe to do more also to tell, all of you tell a great story. Maybe, we have also the responsibility to tell this kind of story, very, very difficult. And also now, there is a rebellion, you see, all over the world about women that they don't scare in front of nothing. And this is really unbelievable. I think, it's really the real change. But I would say final question to all the panelists. The top one female director employed, substantially more women in key behind the scene role than films, with exclusive male director. On film with at least one woman director, woman comprises 53% of writer, while on films with only male director, woman accounted for a mere 12% of writer. And this trend is repeated for the other role as well. What can be done more in the industry to make a substantial change? Maybe women in senior role can help by bringing in more women. We start from Matilda.
Well, I think it's a more productive question, so I'll leave the words to you. Thank you. No, sorry, it's not my. What can I say?
Yes, Greta would like to do also.
Greta.
Yes.
No, Greta. No, I just finished. It's like, no.
But maybe you can tell us your experience. Maybe you're director with you work with the female director.
I've worked with 3 female directors, and it was incredible for me. Especially because I think society taught us to be in competition all the time because there's no space for like all of us all together, and if there's space for me, there is no space for you. So, but it's society that decided that. But in my experience, when I work with female directors or also my co-workers, people from the troupe and from the crew, I feel the more women we are, the more energy we create. And I think that's unbelievable how the narrative of women constructed by males have destroyed women friendship and bond. So in my experience, working with female director was so inspiring, and I think the best experience like in the working way of my life was always with female directors. So sorry, man, but it's true. Yeah, the way we see the world is just a bit different. Not better, but a bit different, and it resonates more with me. So, but thank you.
Greta.
I agree that it's maybe more a productive question, but what we can do as as an actress or what I've been trying to do, and I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but I've been looking for stories and in books and in history, just stories of women that could inspire me, and I bought those stories. Sometimes it happens that I buy rights for books, because I kind of want to do this, and I buy the rights, and then I go to the producer. Usually they steal the rights and just, they leave me out of the process. But this has happened a lot lately. But what maybe we can try to do is, push ourselves to look for more important roles. But as actors, it's hard for us. But still something I think we can do.
Lucia?
I think, we've been talking about equality and diversity for decades. And I think it's about accountability. I think organizations like this, I think the Gina Davis Institute, I think people need to be called out because a lot of people, and it really falls on the people at the top, will nod their heads and agree, and they'll come to meetings, and they'll have meetings, and they'll tell you they love your film, and they'll cry, and then they'll just keep doing what they've always done. We work in an industry that is constantly evolving. Things are changing constantly, and we must continue to evolve technically, creatively in our industry to keep going. Why wouldn't we do that socially as well? People need to be held accountable. They need to be called out if they're saying yes and nodding their head and then really not doing anything to implement change.
Sandra?
I think there is, we talk about the industry as though it's one industry. I work only in television, and so that's all I can really speak to. And what I see and what I have been seeing over the past maybe 10 years is a real shift in the way the TV business, which is a large business and frankly getting larger as the film world is presenting fewer opportunities, TV is picking up that slack. And there is an accountability. You cannot make a show today. You can find a buyer today if you don't have an important woman, an important role for a woman, a certain number of your writers as women. We so frequently will find ourselves in meetings with our creators, with our showrunners, with the talent and the writers, and somebody will say, will come in with a pitch, this last week. I want to take this show, but change it, cast it with a woman instead of a lead man. I think it becomes a more interesting show. I think there is an effort. I'm not going to pretend that there's not pushback, because I would be either a liar or a naive if I said that. It's one big happy family with great opportunities for everybody, but at least the question is being asked. At least the conversation is being had. How do we reach women, even if it's just commerce? Women frequently control the remote. Women frequently control what the family is watching on TV that night. Right? And therefore there is a recognition that we need to be mindful of women. We need to show stories. We need to tell stories that show them in the representative light that they play in in society in general, and sometimes in an aspirational light, right? You might not have a lot of female Black Panthers walking around in Los Angeles, but you want to create an aspirational vision of a society in which women do have that opportunity. That is a role that a woman can play. So we are very, very mindful. Brian Murphy has something called the 50-50 Project, where he will not do a project unless there are 50% of the roles, the behind the camera role, the crew role, 50% women. And as he says, sometimes you can't find women grips, and you keep looking.
Chiara?
Yes, I think that the change it happens with an individual change, a cultural change. I think that even as women, in a way, we are victim of this, old paradigm or narrative. Sometimes we feel that we're not enough. Sometimes we feel that we shouldn't take a seat at the table. And I think those are old paradigms, they're all lies and all illusion. We can do anything we want, like men can do anything they want. We can achieve anything we want, but we first have to believe it. And if we do believe it, we are going to make it.
I think it's very easy because the content, the topics that you touched with your experience were impressive for each of us. I think that I stress what Chiara was saying before, so that the first that have to believe in our empowerment ourselves. So each of us in our life, in our private life and professional lives, have to achieve what we have in the heart and what we have in mind with the rest of the people that we have around. So believe it and we can get it.
You know, I would love to thank you, Matilda De Angelis, Greta Scarano, Sara Stern, Chiara Tinesi, Lucia, grazie Alessandro Renaldi, thank you to everybody.